aggressively long like non-PR stocks because there's not that many clean charts, which is totally fine. You know, we're just in that kind of nut grinder of a mode. But overall, like you're still seeing a lot of pockets of strength in a lot of different sectors. You know, even the SPY, right? I mean, you're just in a straight up guerrilla grind mode where you're not getting crazy amount of volatility. So the trading becomes a little bit tougher. This is, I think, some of the most frustrating times to trade for like newer traders and even experienced traders because, you know, like yesterday you see the market up, say, 150 points at some, you know, during midday, but like your whole watch list is like kind of fluttering around down, right? And that's kind of like, you know, what happened yesterday is like, you know, this will happen when the market gets like extended. It's like you get the spike up and then it's back down and you're thinking, oh, it's a long. Then you're thinking, oh, it's a short. And then you just kind of grind along the rest of the day and you just sit there and crisscross around back and forth between the VWAP. And before you know it, you've just like, you lost 20 cents here, you lost 20 cents there. And, you know, in the end, where did you go? And you'll see that a lot, right? Like, you know, this is what kind of happened. Where just crisscross around back in the VWAP, stuck in that range. And you're just living literally like the circle of death, you know, taking 20, 30 cent losses here and there. But tons of money to be made in the market, right? Because there's still like pockets of hot momentum everywhere, you know, especially in like biotechs and stuff like that. And, you know, you're seeing these kind of stocks like, you know, the BIOCs and stuff just rip all day. So you are getting, you know, you are still getting some heat. What you just need to do is really focus in your watch list. You know, if the market itself is grinding, then stay away from stocks that just move with the market, right? You need to find plays that decouple from the market a little bit, that are moving on its own, right? That are sitting there in trends or sitting there uptrend, downtrend, and that are just ignoring the whims of mother market and her bad behavior the last couple days. Hey, Twin, how you doing, brother? Pleasure to have everybody as always. Mr. Corbecky, Mr. Johnny, Eric, how you doing? So let's take a look at the watch list for today. I got this SPPI on the watch list here. You're kind of breaking out of this kind of range over here. I'd consider this like a C, though. It's not my favorite because it doesn't have that much heat on it in the morning. Only 14,000 shares traded in the volume. One thing you'll notice about stocks that got PRs and stuff out of them, if they're really, really hot, you'll start to see like hundreds of thousands of shares start to flow in before the market opens as people start to position themselves. So in general, not my cup of tea, but I'll keep it on the watch list, see if something happens. This Siggy Bear, I do like. You know, you see how you're breaking this low right here you're breaking your low right here of 30. So you've already got like, a nice breakdown over here. This one actually has a pretty good range on it. So I think this one we will be able to even look at potentially at the open, but you just have to be mindful that the SSR is going to be on it. So don't try to short it at lows and do all that. MS has got earnings out here. If it kind of dusts below this 42, I think you'll have some plays in it today. Usually bank stocks don't move that well, but you know what? Goldman yesterday was like, had like a 10-point range on it, which you never, you know, which is rare. So maybe I guess the heat's back on some of these things. So I think this MS, we'll take a gander at this one, potentially for an ORB or quick pullback buy at the open. Yeah, PCG is popping here, but I mean, I can't. Look, I mean, this one is always like, it's already, any pop in this is going to be a liquidity trap, meaning like if you get a big pop in it, it's just going to be a liquidity trap used for, right, people to get out, right? I mean, it's already going to declare bankruptcy or whatever. You know, you may pop for 1 or 2 days and it's going to just roll back over. Definitely you can day trade this thing back and forth. But don't remember, you can't hold this thing overnight because you don't know where it's going to open, right? When you wake up the next day, could be at 0, Could be a 10, it could be a 15, could be a 1, who knows, right? So it's a day trading vehicle. The other thing to remember is that you do have a risk on something like this, right? You know, when you have something that's coming under fire for potential bankruptcy or whatever, you know, it can get halted midday. You know, you could be in it, you got 2,000 shares, and, you know, the sucker could get halted or whatever, and, you know, next thing you know, you're just down in the dumper. So, you know, for me, I mean, I'll keep it on watch for a little trading vehicle, but I can't imagine me really holding on to it for more than a few minutes. You know, this UNFI had a midday kind of earnings report out, and it really had some heat on 8 million shares in volume, really coming out of a nice base breakout. You know, this thing's been dusted for a long time. You may see some upside on this. You're getting a weak open on this. If this thing goes red to green and kind of rips this 1550, we should be able to get some follow through on this. It's got a nice range to it, hopefully, and we'll be able to dust this thing back and forth. But I keep this on watch. There's not that many heaters out today compared to the last few days. One thing to remember about the market is, you know, when the market's hot like it has been the last few days, you know, you got to really kind of, you got to extend your gains a little bit, because there'll be days where the market grinds, right? So when it's hot, you got to take it down. Legend got hit by Citron yesterday, dropped about 25 points. Now, historically, what's been happening, at least it happened with Roku and some other names, is that, you know, day 2 or day 3, after it drops enough, you start to get a rebound on it, because the Citron hit pieces haven't been working as well as they used to a few years ago. You know, a few years ago, they were slaughtering, I mean, they were slaughtering stocks, you know. You know, they'd put a report out and blow a couple farts, and next thing you know, stock's down like 50%, you know, 60% over the course of a couple days. That hasn't been happening. You know, they put the hit piece out on Roku a few days ago, and like, you know, Roku had gapped up, and then it did get crushed, but they just kind of rebounded right back, and so who knows, right? So I keep this on watch. It's for potential rebound if it just gets. But I'd only do it if it really starts to get flushed and then start to rebound. Like, I wouldn't chase strength on this thing, because in the end, the chart itself sucks, right? So that's where you got to just be kind of mindful of this thing. You know, everybody's asking about this MBOT. My opinion on this is I have no opinion on this. This is how I always feel about these things. Once you get something that's like $1 and it goes to 20, and then it collapses, say, in one day. See, these are all dead bodies over here, right? This is your buddy Bob that bought over here. This is your neighbor Jim that bought over here. This is your brother Tommy that brought over here. This is, you know, your pool guy that bought over here. This is your mom that bought over here. And so now they're all getting shredded. And who wants to see their mom getting shredded, right? That's disgusting. But that's what happens when you get into stocks like this and they collapse. Your dad got shredded, your mom got shredded, and the pool guy got shredded. It's this epic, nasty gangbang of shredding, and you're the center of it saying this is hot, and now you feel dirty because you're like, dude, I just had dirty thoughts with my mom and my dad, and this MBOT is costing me money, and it's collapsed, and so what am I going to do, right? I'm going to have to get a job. Next thing you know, I'm at McDonald's. I'm just scrubbing toilets for $6 an hour. My mom shredded, dad shredded, all because of MBOT. So, you know, when you have something like this, what goes down? Well, typically when you start getting gaps like this, they just get faded off. They're dead cat bounces. Because like in this one, your mom's going to sell. In the next one, your dad's going to sell. And they're all going to take their losses. And at some point, it'll just kind of keep popping up. But these are considered dead cat bounces. Now, could it, you know, get squeezed and start kind of cruising up a few bucks, 100%, and you can definitely play those quick pops if you want. But what you do have to remember is that takes a lot of skill. That takes a lot of skill and finesse and speed and discipline, because, you know, oftentimes like you'll get the one candle pop. Like, see, this was 950, get the one candle pop. You guess they got up to 14. If you were quick, maybe you're making some money on it, right? But most people, you know, I just put this epic amount of face creams. I got this new face cream on. I just put this all over my face. So, like, my fingers are a little bit slippery. So, like, this first candle, like, man, my fingers are still greasy, man. I got to work that grease into the, you know, into the mouse. You know, the thing drops down so quick. I mean, I could lose thousands of dollars, right? And so I don't trust necessarily any dead cat bounces once the big rollover starts. You will get counter trend waves, of course. Almost all pump and dumps do that. There'll be always some chat room or somebody that's like, hey man, this is hot. It's been cut in half, and it'll pop for a couple minutes and then kind of roll back down. So just something to just be word to the wise. Keep this US steel on watch. You got a really nice tight flag over here. You got this push flag pattern, and then you got about $2 of upside to it. You're not finding that many clean setups like this right now that are like not that extended. So I think this one may have its day. I'll only hit this, if I start to break this trend line and start to see those intraday patterns develop. Otherwise, it's just no good. And then, yeah, maybe still keep this excess on watch. But otherwise, a little bit of a slow day. This Roku's been really acting like a chode. I still got on my watch list because it's still hanging out. It's just been acting like a chode. You know what happens when a stock starts to act like a chode? It'll sit there and still be in its flag, and we'll just kind of people will keep trying to dust it like every day, like as it spikes up, but it hasn't broken out yet. So it spikes up, then we just all get excited, like this is the day the flag breaks, and you're like, sweet, right? I'm going to make some money, and then it just comes crashing down back to the bottom of the flag. And you're like, God damn it. And then next thing you know, you try it again and you try it again. And then you give up on it. And then that day it just rips like 5 points. And you're like, oh, well, I lost 50 cents on it 6 times. And then I made $1 on it the 7th time. That's what it's kind of reminding me of. But the pattern is still there. The pattern is still there. We did have a nice trade in this DGAS yesterday. Probably still keep it on the watch list, but it has no direction. The one thing is, I didn't put on the watch list for this because you're not going to be able to differentiate sometimes which way to go on these till the trend sets. Like yesterday, the UGAS looked hot for a hot second, and then it dumped, and then the DGAS looked hot. And so, like, for some of you guys that have smaller accounts or just brand new, that kind of flipping action of like, hey, this one looks hot. No, shit, this one looks hot. That type of hot potato can be really, really tricky because you have to, when you play hot potato, you have to assume a couple small losses before you hit the big win, right? And most people, they have losses and then their wins are about the same size as their losses, so it just evens out, right? You can't really make those numbers work. So like this DGAS, UGAS, it's a hot potato thing because it's like yesterday, this thing, I was in it. Yesterday, I had to play hot potato, and it's not fun playing hot potato, man. It looked like it was so hot. See this? It looked like a flag pattern here, popped up, and it's like, all right, I'm about to get paid, and then it was like, oh no, not about to get paid, right? It's a withdrawal now, right? And then it just tanked, and then you got to kind of flip life this thing back the other way. And that's hard, right? That takes a lot of, that takes a little bit of more experience and skill, I think. So when you have like a directionalist stock or ETF on its daily chart, even if its intraday range is big, it's best to kind of stay away from it unless you're able to just flip life, all day and get that thing going. So I think, favorite for today is the SIGI and MS. X, UNFI, and then we'll watch and see what goes down, right? We'll have to watch and see what goes down and how it all flows because, in the end, in this market, what's like really been going down is, random stuff has been popping out of the blue, and, we'll find our way. Good, 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 good. What else going on? Swipe. Open layout group. There we go. All right, I think I'm in. We're in the game now, buddies. Legend, DGAS, and then Siggy Bear. Cool, rock and roll, guys. We got things to do. We got We got things to see people do. You know the drill.